just a random video I felt like making out of a whim. Just thought I'd see if maybe some of you might have read the same books as I have. And as you can see, I do have quite a lot of books. So I guess as a kid I used to have this proclivity for collecting books, and I guess my parents sort of indulged me in this tendency, and this is what I ended up with. I suppose I don't buy that many books these days. I actually don't have much time to read. And believe it or not, there's actually a second layer behind what you see here in the front, but most of those are just books that I used to read as a kid. Actually, these novels are also books that I used to read as a kid. Haven't touched these in more than a decade, I think. But yeah, let's start with this corner over here. So first of all, I have Harry Potter, definitely one of my favorite series of all time, and I think I've reread this like 3 times, and I think J.K. Rowling is a very humorous writer. I like that about her a lot. And this rolled down book over here, Completely Unexpected Tales. If you like creepy short stories, then this is definitely for you. If you like stories like those written by Edgar Allan Poe, then I think this is also something you would definitely enjoy. And some Shakespeare plays that I've never read. These are from my sister. She had to read these for school and she hated Shakespeare, so naturally they would end up here. And Lord of the Rings, I got this from my cousin. It's a crumbling copy actually, but yeah, I enjoyed this a lot as well. But I think I'm more of a Harry Potter fan than I am a Lord of the Rings fan. And Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I actually used to enjoy this a lot. I think I stopped reading maybe at around grade 6. But I actually got this black one quite recently, like last year, because I was a bit interested to see how far the series had progressed, so that's why I got this. This is just another random book, learning Japanese. Sort of gave up halfway. And then moving on. So these are just novels I used to read. I haven't touched these in a long time. And I have the autograph of the author for these books. So Alex Rider is supposed to be some teenage spy for the British government or something. And I got the chance to meet Anthony Horowitz in a book fair in Hong Kong, I think maybe 10 years ago. And I got his autograph. And here, I think you might recognize this from my video on Inferno. This is the Hollander translation. Also an excellent translation. This is the Longfellow translation for Inferno. This is another book that I definitely recommend. I got this quite recently. It's about, it analyzes like trends in art history. It analyzes important and famous paintings. I would open this to show you, but there are quite a lot of nudes inside, so I don't know if it will get my video flagged, so I'll just keep it like this. So definitely recommend this if you're interested in history and art. Very interesting read. And here I have all my classical Chinese books. So I am from Hong Kong. Chinese is my first language, and I do love literature, and so that's why I have all these classical Chinese books. A lot of books on poetry. I guess I'm a bit of a romantic when it comes to literature, so that's why. This is a giant Chinese fan, actually. It's a bit obnoxious if you take this outside, but don't underestimate this. It's actually very useful when it gets hot. So yeah. And also this would be something that's, I guess, kind of special. This is printed in the way old books would be printed. So you see these big words. These are the actual text of the book, and the smaller words are commentaries. So I just got this for fun. So I guess that's something that's kind of special. And these are Chinese novels. So you see these 2 words over here. In Cantonese, this is pronounced as gamyong, And he's a very famous author who passed away recently, and then he wrote all these novels. He can come up with really exciting and engaging plots, so that's why he's so famous. A lot of my friends have read his novels as well. I actually got all these books from my mom's friend. She had this collection with her, but she wanted to get rid of it, so that's why it ended up here. I haven't finished all of them, of course. I've read these, but the rest I haven't touched. I guess I won't have time. But yeah, if you're learning Chinese and you want to challenge yourself and read a Chinese novel, then you can definitely consider this series over here. Not all of them are connected, so you can kind of like start with this one and not have to go through the first one and the next one in order. You can just start halfway. And this is just my wallet. Oh, and this is Jon Snow's Valyrian Steel Sword, Longclaw. So if you've watched Game of Thrones, you'll know what this is. Got this from my girlfriend, so let's just leave that there. And that's the queen from a crappy chess set, and I'm too lazy to put that back. And Series of Unfortunate Events. I haven't read this in a long time. I actually don't remember what happened. And I really just have this out here purely for the aesthetics, because it does look kind of nice, I suppose. And for some complicated reason, I have 2 copies of the 3rd book. And this Sherlock Holmes book, this is another example of me indulging myself. I actually don't need this. I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. This is a book that kind of like summarizes all the stories in the original Sherlock Holmes short stories and novels, and got this for fun. Bit of a waste of money, but yeah, I just got it for fun. And more classical Chinese books, Art of War, philosophy books, poetry, and Tales of Beetle the Bard, J.K. Rowling. Important plot device, but I guess I shouldn't spoil that too much. And we also have A Song of Ice and Fire, and definitely my favorite series of all time. So I actually stopped reading novels right around grade 9. I pretty much stopped reading books, didn't have time, and I thought I'd never finish a novel again, but I watched Game of Thrones, I loved it, and then I started reading the books, and I finished the series. That is the books that are out so far. There should be 2 more, Winds of Winter and A Dream of Spring, so that would come out in the future, hopefully. And definitely my favorite series of all time. I find a lot of people compare George R.R. Martin with J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of The Lord of the Rings, but I enjoy George R.R. Martin way more than I enjoy Tolkien. And so yeah, I guess I belong to this camp. I just really love the intricate plots and all the engaging dialogue that George R.R. Martin can conjure up. Just brilliant writer. So definitely something you should definitely read if you have the time. These are massively long novels. It's kind of like a Bible, but if you have the time, these books are some of the best you'll ever get to read. Some Michael Jackson biographies. I used to be obsessed with him. And some Shakespeare books, Romeo and Juliet, Midsummer's Night Dream. I actually finished those, but it was just a casual read. I didn't delve too deep into those. And Sherlock Holmes. And this is a historical text from ancient China, written around 2,000 years ago. And he's written by this person who's kind of like the Chinese version of Herodotus. So he's kind of like the father of history for China. And more Inferno books. You might recognize them from my Inferno video. A book on chess, supposedly by Bobby Fischer, but I've heard people say that all he contributed was his name, and that this book was actually written by someone else, by other contributors, these 2. And it's mostly about how you can checkmate your opponents. So I guess it was kind of useful. I learned a bit from this. And I have this crumbling copy of A Brief History of Time. I got this from my uncle. And these are just books I used to have as a kid. I don't think these books have left this shelf in more than a decade, literally. And of course I have Snape's wand. So believe it or not, this is actually kind of useful. When I'm feeling lazy and I don't want to get off my ass to flip a light switch, I can actually just use this. So I guess it kind of vindicates my decision to buy something that is otherwise completely useless. And here's more useless shit. These are maps for Song of Ice and Fire. So I find it very fun to kind of like immerse yourself inside a fictional world. And what adds to the immersion, of course, are maps. And these are a collection. This is a collection of maps for this series. And it kind of helps to see where the characters are going as the complicated story unfolds. Westeros is a big place, and outside of Westeros there are a whole bunch of other places, so I guess it's kind of useful. This is also on the Song of Ice and Fire. This is the World of Ice and Fire, once again related to this as well. Covers a lot of the background stories and it gives you a lot of historical context, fictional historical context, I suppose. So that's that. And another series that I finished when I was a kid, I don't think I enjoyed this that much, but I don't know why I managed to plow through it. And I read Twilight once. I was just trying to see what all the hype was about, but I kind of understood the whole series as kind of like vampire werewolf stories. I guess I wasn't able to understand these as love stories back then. Not sure if I could now, but so yeah, I guess I was too young when I read these, and after that these books just sat here and outlived their usefulness for me, I guess. More books that I used to read as a kid, so I don't really touch these. These books haven't left this shelf in many, many years. And I also have a Kindle over here. So mostly if I do any reading nowadays, I do it on my Kindle. And another book on the Song of Ice and Fire, Fire and Blood. This covers Targaryen history, and this goes from the reign of Aegon the Conqueror to Aegon III, if you know what I'm talking about. Once again, I waste a lot of my time in fictional history, a bit of a nerd, but yeah, it was a fascinating read actually. And you can draw a lot of parallels between this and English history, which is also interesting. And also fables. I do read comic books sometimes. This is Compendium 1. I think this includes issue 1 to 40. So I learned about this series through a video game called Wolf Among Us, and I was interested to see what the comic books were about. So I got this, and they were excellent, so definitely recommend this series if you're interested in comic books. And so yeah, I guess that's my bookshelf. So do let me know if you see something interesting, or if there's something you think I should read, or if there's anything that you have read and you would like to share. And I know this is kind of late, but thank you all for 1,000 subs. So it means a lot to see that people are actually interested in the videos I put up. So I guess that's a bit of encouragement. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video, which would probably be a continuation on my physics videos. So yeah, see you then.